Okay, in this video what I'd like to do is show you how to create this mood board in Photoshop. Now I've actually sketched out really quickly and really roughly the layout of my board, and I've imported that as an image into my documents. So if you look at my documents, you can see here I have the layout of my board that I sketched out initially. Okay, so the first thing I want to do is I want to set up my paper. So I'm going to go File, New, and I'm going to select International Paper and A3. Just things to check, I want to check that my resolution is set at 300 because I want to be printing this out, and that's the optimal print resolution. And I want to ensure my colour mode is at CMYK because again we're going to be printing this out, and the printer has 4 cartridges: cyan, magenta, yellow and black, and we want to make sure that we're going to be using that. So click OK. Now this has brought my image in portrait, but I actually want it landscape. So what I'm just going to do is go to Image, Image Rotation, 90 degrees clockwise to rotate that image. Okay, so the first thing I want to do is I want to open up my files, and I want to drag in that background image. That's the first thing. So drag that in. And with these drag handles in the corner, I just want to make that a little bit bigger to make it fit the page. And again, this is just rough. This is just to give you an idea of where my images should be. So something like that. Okay, drag those handles, get it in the correct place, and click the tick once we're finished. You'll notice down here that this image comes in as a separate layer above the background layer. Okay, so the next thing I want to do is I want to create guides using these lines for my layout of my pictures. Now my rulers actually happen to be turned on already, but if they're not turned on, just go to View and Rulers, and that will turn them off. View, Rulers, will turn them on. Okay, so now we've got our rulers on. To bring these guides down, we're going to click on that ruler and drag it down with our mouse until we line it up with the line that we want to do this. Line it with. Same again, click, drag, let go. Click, drag and let go. And we're going to be doing the same the other side. Click, drag and let go. Click, drag, let go. Click, drag. One there. And one there. Now we could have our images just butted up against each other, but personally I quite like a little bit of a gutter. I just like a little spacing between them. So I'm just going to quickly put in, really quickly, just a little space. So I'm going to put another guide down just so that it creates a little bit of a space between my two images. Now it might get a bit confusing because we've now got lots of lines on this screen which we need to understand what's going on. So at this point what I'm going to do is I'm going to create some rectangles, and these rectangles are going to be our picture placeholders, and we're going to use those to crop our pictures. So down here on the left hand side we have the shape icon. Now at the moment it's on ellipse, but I'm going to go to rectangle, and I'm going to drag a rectangle from that top corner, and you'll see it will snap to the line guides. It comes in as black. This is where my first image wants to be. Now I don't want it to be black because if they're all black we can't really see the difference between the two, so let's just change the colour. The colour always comes up in this properties box on the right hand side. So see it set as black. Let's just set it to something neutral. Let's set it with this blue grey. I'm just going to zoom in a little bit and do the next one. So I'm going to take the next one in here, and I'm going to do my next one, which comes here. Oops, no, it doesn't. That bit. This one comes down here. And I'm going to keep drawing these all around. Now it should be changing this colour, so I'm just going to go back and change the colour. So you can always go back and change the colour by going on the mouse button at the top, clicking on the rectangle you want to change the colour, and going to the colour palette and changing that colour, picking a different colour from the palette. I'm just going to quickly finish these off. One there. One there. So I'm just going to change this. I'm going to actually have a big one here. Make that a little bit different. Down the bottom, not sure the bottom, another big one down the bottom. think. Now what you might find is it's quite hard sometimes to actually line these up. So if it is, just draw it a bit short, just draw a smaller box, zoom in a bit, over that box, on the mouse key, pick that up and just drag it to the edges, and you'll see it snaps to at those edges there. Snaps at those edges. And my last image, my last rectangle, apply. So I made a change to that one. So it actually asked me if I want to apply that change, in which I do. So I'll apply that change. And the very last one, add this one in here. And you can see I've gone a bit over the line there. That's fine. Using the mouse key, let's drag that back in. I'm just going to quickly go around and change those colours, apply that because I made a different change. So I'm just going to go around and very quickly change my colours, make them all different so I can see where they all are. And there we have our images laid out. Just hide that properties. Okay, now we want to add a circle into this image. And we can't see, though, where that circle is very clearly, because over the top of it we've put all of these shapes. So this is where our layer tree is quite important. So let's just bring this up so we can see what we're doing. Here is our layer tree. And we've got all these rectangles, 1 to 9, that we've put in place. If we click on if we click on the layer, we can see the rectangles highlight, so we can see which rectangle we're looking at. On the bottom here, we have our image, our inspirational image, our image that shows the layout that we want to use. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to click that image and I'm going to drag it to the very top of the Photoshop pile, of that layer pile. I'm just going to turn the opacity, we've got opacity down here, I'm just going to turn that down to about 50% or something. To start with, because then I can see where that circle is. I can see where I need to draw my circle. I'm going to click and hold this time on my shape tool and go to ellipse. Hold down shift on my keyboard and drag and draw that ellipse over the top to create that circle. Okay, now actually if you noticed in my final design I actually changed that. I thought that circle was a little bit too big and maybe a bit inappropriate. But let's just leave it like this for now. And that's absolutely fine. Maybe I'll change the colour just because I don't really like the black. Okay, so now we don't actually need this background image. It serves no purpose. We're not going to use it again. We've already made our layout. So what I can do is I'm just going to drag it to the very bottom and I'm going to turn off the little eye. So if we turn off the eye, that hides that image away, and you can see now the background has gone white behind where it was. That's in the grey colour. Okay, so this is the layout that we're going to be using. And the next thing I want to do is I want to pick out my inspirational images and start dragging them into position. So let's start with this chair. I'm going to drag that into the top corner, and I want this chair to be in this position here. So I'm going to hold down shift so that I don't change my aspect ratio, move that into position, so I want it about there, and click the tick to accept. Now, I want to crop this image based on the rectangle 1, because rectangle 1 is in the same position. Now what I've got to do is I've got to make sure that my rectangle is directly below the image that I want to crop. So in this case I'm going to drag rectangle 1 right up to the top here so that it is directly below the image that I want to crop, this sofa image. I can now right click on the sofa and I can go create clipping mask, and you'll see that that has cropped it down to that image. And you can see there's a little arrow on this side that links that layer to the rectangle. Now what we don't want to do, because those two layers are now linked, we don't want to get anything in the way of those, because that will just confuse it. If we put this ellipse in the middle, the ellipse is suddenly gone, it's been deleted. And this layer is linked to this layer, it's linked to that layer, which doesn't really make any sense, and that's not good. Just Control Z, I'm just going to undo that. And I'm going to select these two layers now using the Control key. So select the first layer, hold down Control and select the second layer. I can now group these two layers together. I can use Control G on the keyboard, or I can just go down here to the bottom and click this little folder icon, and that groups those images together under one group. This means that it's unlikely that we're going to get anything in the way, and I could even double click on that to change the name to say image 1 or something that I understand what that is. I'm just going to follow that same process for the rest of them. So I'm going to bring in, what's my next image? I'm going to bring in this one, drag that into the correct position where I want it, a little bit smaller, something about there. Okay, which rectangle is that one? Well, that's related to rectangle 2, so I'm going to drag rectangle 2 directly below that image. I'm going to right click on that image and create clipping mask. Those two link together, control click them both together and group them. Okay, so I'm going to follow that procedure for all of the rest of the images until I get to the circle. So I'll see you in a minute. Okay, so as you can see, I've just filled in all of the rest of the images using exactly the same process. So I've got 7 groups at the moment. I've left rectangle 3 on its own because I want to add some text to that one in a second. And as you can see, ellipse 1 is now hidden behind all of the other images, and this is my circle. So I'm just going to bring that to the foreground, so I'm going to drag that to the very top of that tree. And now what I'm going to do, I actually think that's a bit big, so I'm going to change my design slightly. I'm just going to bring that down a bit, because I think it's a bit cumbersome there. Maybe something like that. That's fine. Okay, so I'm just going to do exactly the same on this ellipse. So the last one, just to show you. So I'm going to take, what image am I going to take this time? I'm going to take this image here, drag that in. Oh, I need to click OK. So if you ever can't drag an image in, you need to click the tick on the top before you can drag in. Okay, so take this image here, drag that in, line that up with your ellipse, so it's on top of that ellipse, that circle. Right click, oh, click tick, right click, create clipping mask. If you want to move it around, if you think to yourself, oh, that's not very central, I may want to move this up a little bit, you can always do that, because you can just click on the image, use your arrow keys, and just click up, 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 up. I'm just using the up arrow key, maybe left a bit, or right a bit, wherever you want it to go, to create the correct effect. If you want to add a background, say you wanted to add a little white border to it, probably the easiest thing to do is just to grab another ellipse, hold down Shift to make that a circle, drag it over it, just make it a little bit bigger, a little bit oversized, and go to the colours and select white, and then move that to the centre and just drag that below that ellipse. Use the arrow keys just to straighten it up, just to line it up nicely. Okay, so I'm just going to group these last two that I've just added in, group those two, and I've got my background one behind. The last thing I want to do is I want to add some text. I want to add my text into this box here. So what I'm going to do, I might actually change the background colour. I don't think that background colour is quite right. So I'm going to click on my colour palette. This time I'm going to go on this little box here, and as you notice, as I move around the workspace here, I've got this little eyedropper, so I can pick up a different colour. So I kind of really feel like more of a browny colour. Let's do something like that. Now actually my box just fallen off the screen because I've got dual monitors here. So this is the box I'm actually seeing on my other screen. So as you see, if I select any colour, it picks it up. So I'm going to go for a kind of a dark brown, something like that. Yeah. The last thing I want to do in this mood board here is add some text. So I'm going to go to my text tool here. I'm going to drag a box. So there's two ways of doing it. We can either drag a box and we can type the text in a box, or we can just type it anyway. I'm going to type in my text. Now, what did I have in my previous one that I had? I had never settle for anything less than amazing. I'm just going to copy that actually to save writing that out again. So in my text tool here, I'm going to make my text box, and this time I'm just going to paste in that text. Remember to choose a good font. We can select over that text and we can change the font up at the top here. So choose something that's appropriate, that fits in with the style of the rest of the board. There's loads of different examples of nice ones. Okay. If you want to change the colour, we can change the colour up here along the top. I'm actually quite happy that grey, but if I wanted a white, a little bit something lighter, maybe that's a little bit nicer actually. Or I wanted black. Again, you can just use the eyedropper and just pick up a colour from the rest of your mood board. I'm going to pick up a kind of a light grey. I think that works for me. Okay, and click the tick once you're happy with that text. So that is fine. I'll just move down here. So for me, I'm just going to close that properties menu up. For me, that's absolutely fine, and I've now created my mood board. The only thing left to do is to save it, which is File, Save. And remember, I save it as a Photoshop file first. So Photoshop file, so I can save it as my mood board, and I can save that. And then the next thing I want to do is maybe export it as a PDF or something like that, or to print it. In which case, sits in the top corner, in which case I do File, Print, and I can print it here. So I can select my printer here and print that out. Okay, I won't actually print it out now. Okay, there we go. Thank you very much.